Welcome to the My House Podcast, a show about the past, present, and future goings-on at the My House Youth Drop-In Center in Wasilla, Alaska, with your host, Michelle Overstreet.
Hi, welcome to episode 29 of the My House Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Overstreet, and today I'm joined by Roger Hamacher from 9-Star, my oldest, greatest friend and partner in adventure on the My House campus here. And we've got some exciting things happening on several different levels that we're going to share today. And before we get into that, let's cut to Isaac real quick for housekeeping. Do you have any housekeeping, Isaac?
Yeah, Roger, on back-to-back episodes. Let's see, Stanley Cup playoffs started yesterday, but I guess that's not podcast network related. We have the 100th episode came out recently, and if you haven't listened to it, you should definitely go back and listen back to it. It was really fun. Dyke Nonsense is in the middle of a 2-part series right now about the Opium Wars. We're working on podcast merch that hopefully will be available to the public within the month. More information about that soon. And I mean, what do we have going for local events? I guess the next one would be Community Cleanup Day, which we're doing on Cinco de Mayo.
Yes, sir.
And we're doing something for May the 4th too at the building. So
yeah. May the 4th be with you.
Yeah, big Star Wars Day. I'm a big Star Wars guy, so I can appreciate it. Come on down for that. Is that an all-day thing, or do we have that starting at a certain time?
I think we're just going to do it all day with specials in the cafe and the boutique, and come up with some fun contests and prizes in the meantime.
Come in all day, look at my plastic spaceships that I spend too much money on. Okay, that's all I got.
Excellent. Thank you, Isaac. Roger, I'm so excited that you're here.
Well, I appreciate that. This is like the third podcast I've been on, so I hope I'm doing a good job.
Of course you are. Of course. I came across something in a couple conversations this week with clients who, one with a fairly significant disability, who came to us after years of living in supervised conditions and treatment programs, and she's graduating high school. Mm-hmm. And we have 6 clients that are part of our housing job training programs that are graduating, and probably another 4 or 5 that are in our programs but outside our living circumstances. And this is a big deal.
Right. It is a huge deal. And 9-Star is all about employment and education. And so the education piece means a lot of things. One, it means, getting your high school diploma if you have not attained that. It also means, let's get you into an advanced training program to get you more education. But the one thing with the young people that we're dealing with, I think the general public needs to be aware that these are kids that have fallen through the traditional high school system many times through no fault of their own. They've ended up homeless because of whatever reason it is, and school just kind of becomes secondary to the need to actually live day by day. And so I've never spoken to a young person that comes into our building where they said, I don't have my diploma and I'm okay with that. They've always said, in addition to these other things going on, I am a dropout and I want to get my diploma, and how do we do that? And so we've got 2 different pathways to do that. One is the diploma through the GED program. That program is available to anyone 16 years of age all the way up to, you could be 100 years old and come in and do that. The high school part is through our excellent partner, CyberLinks, which is out of the Nenana City School District. And CyberLinks fits perfectly with the My House and 9-Star philosophy, because they too will look outside the box to do what is necessary to help a young person attain the credits they need to become a graduate. And when I look at CyberLinks and we say, there was 6 this last semester that we graduated, those are kids that until the end of time, they would have been ungraduated had it not been for the intervention and the outside-the-box thinking of CyberLinks and My House and 9-Star working in concert. I can't say enough positive things about CyberLinks, and I always mention this when I'm talking about CyberLinks. For those of you who look at stats, the school districts produce here's our graduation rates every year. And you will notice that the Nenana City School District is the worst performing of all of them, the reason they're the worst performing is they take all of these types of youth that have fallen through all of these cracks. So when you look at the Nenana City School District and it says we graduated 40% of our enrollments, that's 40% of the general populace here that would still be floating around without a diploma. They really take a risk in taking all of these kids on because we all know what happens if you don't get your diploma. You know, all of these doors are closed for you. You
Right.
can't get into the union apprenticeship program to be a carpenter without that. You're not going to any college without that. You're
In IT.
right. You're not. Yeah.
You
and
can't
so
get into industrial training.
Mhm. And so it really, you know, I can't say enough good things about CyberLinks. Tricia Barnett out here in the Matsu is one of the rock stars. She's one of my favorite people because she recognizes, yeah, these are not traditional students. They are facing substantial barriers to getting this diploma. Let's figure out a way to make it happen. There's been a number of times that I've walked into her office out here in the Matsu and, oh, here's a small child there being cared in her office because the mother is trying to get her diploma and is there working, and Tricia's taking care of that kid so the mother can focus on getting her diploma. And that's really one of the key elements of success, because 9-star in my house are that diploma, getting that diploma is just step one of your overall objective here.
That's correct.
It's what do you want to do once you've got that? We're going to get that. What do you want to do then? Because ultimately we're trying to move them into a position where they can be financially self-sufficient. They can rent their own apartment or buy their own car and not have to worry about living paycheck to paycheck. So that's the deal. Michelle, I've been rambling on now for a while, so step in.
Well, the data that I think is so important that goes hand in hand with that is that I think 66% of the kids coming in the door here at age 18 years and 2 days, that's the average age of a kid coming in the door. 18 years and 2 days old, they come in the door with no high school diploma, 66%, well over half. And 1 year later, that number drops to 34% because of what you just described. It's a focus. It's a first step. Now, the average age of our client overall is actually 23. And we sometimes get criticized for that, where people say, I had someone say just last week to me, why aren't you discharging these clients? And I said, because they're still working on goals. Right. Once they get the high school diploma, it opens up so many doors. You've got a WIOA program that can help them get into training at NIT, that can get into training at a hospital or with a CNA training, which we just had somebody complete this week. And so the goal is to help these clients become sustainable. We're not taking homeless kids off the street, feeding them, putting them in housing and saying, have a nice life.
Right.
We're saying, let's get to work here. Let's get your high school diploma. And then what do you want to do next? And here's a whole array of choices. And I really, really love the idea that they not only, we just last week had a young man who's 30, who's been in jail for the last 5.5 years, come back in and say, I don't know where else to go. I'm still on ankle monitor, so I'm not eligible for reentry services, but you guys have supported me. You're like my family. You've supported me all along, so tell me what to do next. And
and we did tell him.
we did. What, why would we ever turn someone away that was trying to do good coming out of a bad situation? And so I really believe that high school diploma you and I worked with a young woman who ended up getting a grant to own her own business at the other end. And she came in saying, there's no way that I can finish my high school diploma. Yep. Roger, you were critical in helping her do that.
Well, and I was critical of her statement of there's no way I can ever get it done.
Yes, you were.
Because I'm like, oh, no, we can get this done. I mean, obviously, that young person has to commit to doing the work. We're not doing the work for them. We're pulling down whatever barriers there are that are preventing that young person from doing it. In this person's case, it was, you need to work in order to pay rent and this and that. So, hey, let's get you a job. We'll do it as an internship. So we kind of have control of your schedule so you can focus on your school as well. And that particular young person took a little bit of time, but got it done, which then opened the door for, you own your own business now, and you're probably not retired in Florida yet, but you'll be there at a certain point.
Sustainable,
right?
right?
Exactly.
It's a good business. It was a solid business plan that she took classes for to know how to run her own business, and there were some personal issues with anxiety and social interactions. So for her, an online business is a perfect solution to that. So we are able to help these young people customize what their choices are to their own limitations, preferences. I think that part of the fun for me and the excitement is, what are they going to do next? What's the next step?
Well, and I think too, because the pathway planning is such a key element, right? Because that young person might come in and be, well, I'm a dropout, I'm this, I'm that, I'm the next thing, but I want to be, after we've kind of talked to them, done some assessments maybe, but I really want to be a carpenter. Well,
Right.
Okay, we'll get you to that point, but step one is we've got to get this diploma out of the way, or whatever that first step is. But it's this continuum where we want to get them again to that point where they don't need social services anymore. The only time we see them again is, like you said, when they come back in and say, hey, everything's golden. Hey, I'm maybe going to write you a check for $20 to give back a little bit or whatever, or donate some of my time. And that's what we want to do. Ultimately, the end game for my house is the house is empty because everyone is taken care of and doing their thing.
Yes, right. Put us out of business. We would love that. That's the goal, is to end youth homelessness, right? And by doing what we're doing and getting the high school diplomas and the additional trainings and sustainability measures, that is how we end homelessness long term.
Right.
We don't have long-term homeless people because we don't have homeless youth.
Right.
And I really, one of the things I'm really proud of, and Roger, you're very good at this, the visioning and making sure that there are a range of opportunities for youth and choices, that it isn't just one thing or the other thing. A great example of that I love is the NIT program, when we needed an administrative assistant training that was actually requested by the mayor of Wasilla, I think, who said, I need a good administrative assistant. Can you train me some up? And we said, well, who does that training? And he said, well, I don't know. That's your job. And so NIT actually developed, Northern Industrial Training developed an administrative assistant training program that is so awesome. It trains young people that we send on all of the Microsoft programs, Excel, PowerPoint, Word, and Publisher. And Dress for Success and interview skills and telephone skills and all these things that are soft skills to some extent with the people skills. And it's tremendously valuable for youth who maybe have not attended a traditional high school, so they didn't get the social skills. Right. So those next steps options, and a wide range of those. You mentioned construction. We have the young man who came in last week had a service oiler certificate, and that it not only does it open doors for them, but it gives them so much confidence to be able to sign up with a union, to put their name on a list for some of the things that are coming down the pike in terms of industry that didn't even exist 10 years ago.
Right. And that's the key element, right, is because once you can get them to that high school diploma, because a lot of the kids that come in, they want to get that high school diploma, but many of them legitimately believe that time has passed them by and they won't be able to reach these heights of apprenticeship or whatever. And so when you can see that success that they feel once they've attained that, and then they know that, wow, I put a lot of work into getting this. I overcame a lot of barriers to do this. You know what? I can pretty much do anything I want to do at this point, right? And so then, going to NIT to get that welding certificate, you know what? I can do that because I've just proved it to myself that I can do these longer term types of trainings and things. And that's really what we're trying to do. Not only does that high school diploma open a bunch of doors, it also gives these young people a tremendous sense of accomplishment and understanding where their life could be. It doesn't have to be you're living in your car or in a tent or whatever. It can be this other thing, and you are now on the pathway and have proved it to yourself that you can do this stuff.
Yeah. I love the statement that one of the clients who actually came to us at 23, but he was incarcerated as a minor in an adult facility. And when he came here, he said, I don't think I'm ever going to fit in anywhere except jail. I don't know how to do any of this people stuff. I don't really fit in anywhere. And he kind of had this self-image of the guy that was the outsider, and went to work in the cafe. And I think he was 5 months in, and he spoke to a small group of people just as a saying thank you for Christmas gifts, actually. But the thing that he said was, when you come here and talk to me like I matter, and I see the kind of car you drive, and you talk to me about what you do for a living, it makes me want to be better. And it makes me believe that maybe I could have a life someday that was good like yours.
Right.
And there was a mortgage broker in that class that came back to me later and said, I can't believe you made me cry in a meeting. And I wasn't there, so I didn't even know what had been said. But he told me that quote from the kid, and I went back and talked to the kid, and he said, when I started in the cafe, what I thought was that people would be judging me and that I would feel like I didn't fit in. And what happened was I learned that I belong in this community, and people really care about me. Mm-hmm. And I really believe that that's part of that high school experience as well, because it is a non-traditional experience for many of those youth, and they fell through the cracks because they didn't have somebody watching their child, mm-hmm. or 3 different entities checking on them every day and saying, why are you walking around the building? Are you supposed to be doing your schoolwork? How come you're on your phone? Get off your phone. Stop playing games and do your homework. And some of those things that, in general, I think traditionally parents, it would be a parent role thing, but for kids that are homeless, they don't have someone doing
right.
that. So it puts support systems in place that can provide that. But that encouragement and that belief in their ability before they get there, the skills that they learn. We had a young man who, when he came here, couldn't read. Right. And so learning how to read and finishing that diploma with the ability to read. So when he does go to a welding program at NIT, he might be a little slower at reading than some of the other kids, but he feels like he can do it.
Right.
It's so critical. And just little pieces like that over the last 10 years, we've really seen the puzzle pieces fall into place, and the value of those graduations. We celebrate every single graduation because it means so much, mm-hmm. not just in that moment or as a milestone for a young person, but the belief in themselves, the realization that they could have a life, other people congratulating them from around the community. So if you're out in the community, come by. If you're in the cafe, ask if there's somebody there that's graduated, because mm-hmm. We want you to congratulate them and make this one of the things that they learn they're capable of.
Right. And I think this, again, is a good example as to why My House is such an effective organization at addressing a lot of these issues, right? We aren't just a shelter. It's not just come here and stay here and be off the streets and we've done our job. It's come and stay here so you can start accessing these other options and opportunities that will get you to a point where you never have to stay here again, right? Yes. Here's the diploma. Here's some other training that you could do once you get your diploma. Here's some job experiences on site here through the cafe or the boutique or the redemption program. Lots of ways for you, again, hand up, not a handout. And that's really the core element of why this is so successful. But on that note, I also have been asked to be the keynote speaker for the CyberLinks graduation coming up in May. So Yay. Keep a lookout for that notice whenever it gets posted, and you can come see all the graduates walking across the stage, because there's a lot of them. I think we've actually had 16 this year through our partnership with My House. Not all of them are My House clients, but they're young people that were in need, that maybe had housing of some sort but had other barriers. So we've had a real impact out here in the Mat-Su with these young people that had fallen through the cracks, right? And now they are moving forward towards great heights.
Yes.
And so very excited about that.
Yes. And we should also mention that we have kids that are graduating from a variety. I think there's 6 different Mat-Su Borough School District schools that we do try to get kids back into their school of origin if they want to go there. And so we've got kids graduating from different schools around the valley. I love, one of my favorite stories was we had a young man who graduated from Houston High a few years ago and worked in the cafe. And at his graduate, we show up. My house shows up. So we're in our orange sweatshirts, and we have signs and, balloons and congratulations stuff for kids at the big graduations in the Menard Center whenever we have kids walking. And this young man, walked, and here's all these people. And for him, it was really challenging because his family had said, if you graduate, we'll all come. And his family didn't come. And that's not that uncommon, but it was very sad. And here we all are with our, the ragtag crew of sign wavers and shouters. And there was a young woman with us that he was familiar with, but not good friends with. And I happened to hear him turn to her and say, "What made you want to come to my graduation? We're not that good of friends." And she said, "Well, last year I graduated and everyone came. And it felt so good to me that I wanted to give that to you." and it was, I had to stand there for a few minutes like, oh my gosh. It was so touching and it was so real. That desire to give back when they've been supported and encouraged and given something is precious. And we hope that if you're listening to this, you'll find a young person and just encourage them. It matters so much.
Right. Yeah, and I think that is a great, because that happens all the time.
It does.
Where not only is the staff of my house and the general community supporting these young people, the other youth are supporting them. And so it kind of builds on the success. That one success builds and allows these other kids to realize, hey, I want to get to that success point. But I do appreciate you mentioning that we do try to get the youth back into their assigned high school if possible, because the 9-star program, CyberLinks, the GED program, these should be looked at as nothing else worked for you, right? We're kind of like that last stop. Nothing else worked for you, and we now are going to try to do the best we can to make this method work for you so you can get it done. And that's really the way to look at that. We're not in any sort of competition with trying to steal kids away from any other school or anything like that. It's really, and the thing that I also will point out, because CyberLinks is the Nenana City School District, and one of the reasons 9-Star has partnered with them for decades now was we needed to be able to have the flexibility to where even if a young person is completely 86th from the entire Mat-Su school district, they've done something so heinous that they can't continue, well, the Nana City School District is a different school district, so we can still serve them if they are legitimately serious about wanting to get their high school diploma. And so that's the other benefit for those types of situations. So it pains me whenever I see a situation where a kid is kind of fallen so far through the cracks that there is no possibility to even resolve that, right? Oh, I can't get my high school diploma because I'm completely 86th from the Anchorage School District or the Mat-Su. Well, come here because it's Nenana, and we'll help you.
Right. So. I share that, Roger. We have a number of young people in long-term recovery that got into recovery sometimes because they had a school incident where they had maybe drugs at school or in a situation on school property where they were permanently exited across a district. And when they're in recovery, they really desperately need ways to move forward on goals. We can't just keep telling them, we're sorry, but you don't qualify. And so that becomes a really key piece of recovery and being able to get back to a place where they can accomplish and achieve traditional goals and be sustainable.
Yeah, and I think it just goes back to, again, one of the reasons this My House 9-Star, My House is so successful is we're looking outside the box. Oh, we've got kids from the Mat-Su School District that can't go back. Well, we're going to find a different school district that doesn't have to follow that rule, right? And it's just solving the problems as we meet them and getting those young people to that point where they can be successful and never have to fall back into social services again.
Yes.
That's the deal. And many times it starts with that young person coming in saying, I'm a dropout and I need to get my diploma. And wow, now you're retired in Florida a year later, right? Because you've completed all this stuff, and are really well on that trajectory where, not only are you not going to be involved with social services, but your family, your kids, et cetera, going forward. So ending generational homelessness and poverty is kind of the secondary goal that can happen when you get your high school diploma.
It really is. And keeping out of that addiction loop.
Mm-hmm.
We've had, I think, last weekend we actually had a call from the police department, and they said we've had 11 overdoses in the first week of April 2023, and the fentanyl is here, and it's killing people. It's wiping them out. We thought that we had a bad year in 2016 when we lost 11 kids to overdose in the entire year. The community lost 11 people in 1 week.
Right.
And so, again, those programs that support sobriety, which certainly the education programs do, are so powerful, just giving them a different path to be on and a different way to get away from that, to stay away from it, to not associate with people that are doing those drugs is powerful. So,
right. And I think a lot of times, right, get involved in that high school program and start seeing those successes, and suddenly you want to maybe get into recovery now and not be that person anymore.
Yes.
You see kind of this light at the end of the tunnel where, I can be something different than what I am right at this moment. And all the services are here on site to help all of that stuff happen. The kid comes in here and says, I'm sick of doing opiates. We can get that solved right now for you. And that's again another reason why the wraparound services program here of my house has got successful numbers coming out of it.
Mm-hmm. It's encouraging for sure. Roger, I'm so grateful for you, and I'm so grateful for 9-Star and all the not just the programs but the energy.
Well, and I'm excited that I've been invited back now 2 other times, so apparently I'm okay.
You're our star. Well, the thing is that when you and I are having these conversations in my office, I frequently think that conversation would have been well suited for the group that I spoke to
right.
2 weeks ago. And so if we put them on a podcast, then they can go all around the country and people understand more about what we're doing, how we're doing it, and why it's so effective. The outcomes that we have been recognized nationally. You have some of that with the WIOA.
Right. Well, the WIOA, I think we maybe mentioned this before, but the state of Alaska was recognized as the WIOA provider that was providing the most services for homeless youth in the nation. And so Alaska gets a small amount of WIOA money to do this. And when you're looking at like California and stuff where they're getting 10 times the amount of money, but not really directing it towards the most needy youth, these homeless youth. That's what the state of Alaska is doing, and we're seeing the results in, that kid's not homeless anymore, that kid's not homeless anymore, that kid's not homeless anymore. So the last thing I will say is if you do have a young person out there who is high school age and has dropped out, get them down to the 9-Star office here or the CyberLinks office and get them enrolled. And you might be surprised at the success that young person could have.
Yes. Thank you, Roger. Very, very good words. That's all the time we have for today. I want to thank you for being here. 3rd time's a charm. The My House podcast is recorded at the My House studio in Wasilla, Alaska, and our producer and awesome editor is Isaac Smolden. I'm Michelle Overstreet, and until next time.